Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he sealed the last containment unit. The toxic materials inside could kill most species in the galaxy within seconds. For humans, it would take maybe 5 minutes. That was why they paid him well to do this job. Nobody else wanted to handle the dangerous cargo that came through Zenith Point Station. He checked his watch. School would be out in 20 minutes. Lily would be waiting for him at the usual spot near the food court. His daughter was the reason he took this job, the reason he stayed on this cold metal station millions of miles from Earth. After Sarah died in that mining accident 3 years ago, it had been just the two of them. A single dad trying to raise a little girl in a galaxy that looked at humans like they were monsters. Marcus locked the cargo bay and headed through the station corridors. Other beings moved out of his way. They always did. The Vexari with their insect-like bodies and clicking mandibles. The tall, thin Quellan with their long ears and nervous movements. The blue-skinned Corthan merchants. All of them stepped aside when a human walked past. It made Marcus sad sometimes. He was not a violent man. He had never hurt anyone in his life. But humans came from Earth, and Earth was what the galaxy called a death world. Everything there wanted to kill you. The gravity was crushing. The weather was extreme. The animals were predators. Somehow, humans had survived all of that and became strong because of it. To the rest of the galaxy, that made humans dangerous. Death worlders. Too strong, too fast, healing too quickly. Marcus understood their fear, but it still hurt, especially when he saw how they looked at Lily. He reached the food court and smiled. There she was, sitting at a table with her school bag, swinging her legs. 8 years old with dark hair like her mother and a smile that could light up the whole station. She was talking to someone. Marcus got closer and saw it was a small Quellan child, even younger than Lily. "Daddy!" Lily jumped up and ran to him. Marcus caught her and lifted her up, making her giggle. "How was school, Sweet Pea?" "Good. This is Pip. He's new. His family just moved here from the Quellan homeworld." The small rabbit-like child looked up at Marcus with wide, frightened eyes. His ears flattened against his head. Marcus had seen that reaction before. He carefully set Lily down and knelt to be at the child's level. "Hello, Pip," Marcus said softly. "It's nice to meet you. Any friend of Lily's is a friend of mine." Pip's ears came up a little. You're very big. I know. Humans are bigger than Quellan. But that's okay. Different species are different sizes. Doesn't make any of us better or worse." Lily grabbed Pip's small paw. "Daddy's nice. He won't hurt you. He makes the best pancakes on the whole station." Marcus smiled. Leave it to Lily to judge people by their cooking. "Would you like to join us for dinner sometime, Pip? I'm sure your parents would want to meet Lily's family, too." Pip nodded slowly, a small smile forming. "I would like that." They said goodbye to Pip and walked home through the station. Marcus held Lily's hand as they passed shops and offices. Zenith Point was one of the biggest trading stations in this sector. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species lived and worked here. It should have been a place of unity, of different cultures coming together. But Marcus knew the truth. There was a hierarchy here. The Vexari Confederation ran the station, and they made sure everyone knew it. Commander Thelxis, the military leader, treated other species like they were beneath him. His guards walked around like they owned everything. And maybe they did. Marcus had learned to keep his head down and stay out of politics. He did his job, raised his daughter, and tried to be a good example. He taught Lily to be kind, to stand up for others, to see past fear and prejudice. Sarah would have wanted that. Their quarters were small but comfortable. Marcus made dinner while Lily did her homework. She chattered about her day, about the math lesson she aced, about the new game the kids were playing at recess. Then she got quiet. "Daddy, why do some kids not want to play with me?" Marcus's hand tightened on the spatula. "What do you mean?" "Some of the Vexari kids. They say humans are mean. They say we're dangerous, but I'm not mean. I'm not dangerous. Marcus turned off the stove and sat down next to her. No, you're not. You're one of the kindest people I know. But some people are afraid of things they don't understand. Humans are different from most species. We're stronger, and that scares them. But I would never hurt anyone. I know, Sweet Pea, and the people who matter will see that, like Pip. He was scared at first, but you showed him kindness, and now you're friends. That's all we can do. Be ourselves and hope others give us a chance. Lily hugged him tight. Mom would have known what to say. Mom would have said exactly what I just said, but with better words probably. Marcus kissed the top of her head. She'd be so proud of you. After dinner and homework, Marcus tucked Lily into bed. She fell asleep quickly, holding the stuffed bear that had been Sarah's. Marcus stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her breathe. This tiny person was his whole world. Everything he did was for her. He went to his own room and looked at the photo on his desk, Sarah smiling, holding baby Lily, back on Earth, before they decided to move to the colonies for better opportunities, before the accident, before everything changed. Marcus had been angry for a long time after Sarah died. Angry at the universe, at fate, at the company that cut corners on safety. He had felt something dark inside him. A rage that wanted to break things. But then he looked at Lily, and he knew he had to be better. For her, he buried that anger deep. He became gentle, patient, kind. He had no idea that in less than 24 hours, that buried rage would come roaring back to the surface. And when it did, the entire station would learn what happened when you threatened a human's child. The next day started like any other. Marcus dropped Lily off at school, watched her wave goodbye, and headed to work. He spent the morning moving hazardous containers that would have required teams of workers from other species. For him, it was just another Tuesday. At lunch, he got the call. Mr. Chen? The voice was nervous, belonging to one of the school administrators. There's been an incident. You need to come to the medical bay immediately. Marcus's blood went cold. What happened? Is Lily okay? Please, just come quickly. He ran. People scattered out of his way as he sprinted through the station corridors. His heart pounded in his chest. His mind raced with terrible possibilities. The medical bay was on the other side of the station. It took him 4 minutes to get there. It felt like hours. Inside, he found chaos. A Quellan family surrounded one bed, their long ears flat with distress. At another bed, behind a curtain, Marcus heard crying. Lily's crying. He pushed past the curtain and stopped. His daughter lay on the medical bed, her face streaked with tears and bruised. Her left arm was in a temporary cast. The doctor, a gray-skinned Corthan with gentle eyes, was scanning her ribs. "Daddy!" Lily sobbed when she saw him. Marcus went to her side, carefully touching her face. "I'm here, Sweet Pea, I'm here. What happened?" The doctor looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Chen, she has a broken arm and 3 cracked ribs. The other child, the Quellan, has a crushed leg. They were found in Maintenance Corridor 7. Found? What do you mean found? Who did this?" Before the doctor could answer, 2 Vexari security guards entered. Their insect faces were unreadable, but their body language was dismissive. "Mr. Chen, we need to ask your daughter some questions about the incident," one said. "Incident? Someone attacked my daughter. Who was it?" "The situation is under investigation. It appears to have been an accident during rough play between children." Marcus felt something crack inside him. "Rough play? Look at her." "Children can be rough sometimes. The footage from that corridor seems to have corrupted. Without clear evidence, there are cameras everywhere on this station. The footage doesn't just corrupt." The guard's mandibles clicked in what might have been irritation. "Are you suggesting we are lying, human?" The doctor touched Marcus's arm gently. "Mr. Chen, perhaps we should focus on your daughter's recovery right now." The guards left. Marcus wanted to chase after them, to demand answers, but Lily was crying and needed him. He held her good hand and listened as she told him what happened. She and Pip had been walking back from lunch. 3 older Vexari students had cornered them in a maintenance corridor. Marcus knew the type. Young nobles, children of important families who thought they could do whatever they wanted. They had mocked Pip, calling him prey, calling him weak. When Lily told them to stop, they turned on her, called her Death Worlder, called her monster. When she stood her ground, one of them pulled out a gravity manipulation device. It was a toy for Vexari children, but in the wrong hands. It could change gravity's pull on a specific target. They had used it on both children, increasing gravity until the pressure broke bones. They laughed while they did it. They only stopped when a teacher heard the screaming. Marcus listened to all of this while something cold and terrible grew in his chest. He kept his face calm for Lily, but inside, the rage he had buried for 3 years was waking up. The doctor gave Lily pain medication and told Marcus she would need to stay overnight for observation. "I'll be right back, Sweet Pea," Marcus said. "I need to talk to the doctor." Outside the room, he spoke quietly. "Tell me the truth. What's really happening?" The Corthan doctor sighed. "One of the boys is Crix, nephew of Commander Thelxis. The other 2 are also from powerful families. Security is going to rule this as accidental. They always do when important children are involved." "And the footage?" "Probably locked away or erased. I'm sorry, Mr. Chen. This station isn't fair. You must have noticed." Marcus had noticed. He had noticed for years. He had kept quiet because he needed this job, because causing trouble could get them both kicked off the station. But this was different. This was his daughter. "Is there uncorrupted footage somewhere?" The doctor hesitated. "If there is, it would be in the maintenance system backup. But that requires high-level access." Marcus had high-level access. He worked with hazardous materials. He had clearance to go almost anywhere for safety inspections. He thanked the doctor and went to find a terminal. It took him 15 minutes to locate the backup footage, another 5 minutes to download it to a secure drive. Then he watched it. He watched 3 Vexari teenagers corner 2 small children. He watched them mock and threaten. He watched his daughter, 8 years old and tiny, step in front of her friend to protect him. He watched them hurt her while she screamed. The last thing holding Marcus back snapped. He copied the footage to multiple locations. He sent it to the Human Colonial Authority with a priority flag. He sent it to the Galactic News Network. He sent it to every diplomatic contact he had. Then he checked on Lily one more time, kissed her forehead, and told her he would be back soon. "Where are you going, Daddy?" "To make sure this never happens again." He walked out of the medical bay with purpose. Other beings in the corridor felt something change in the air. The human who had always been polite and careful was different now. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. His movements were controlled. But there was a coiled energy in him that made predators nervous. Marcus Chen, the gentle single father who handled toxic waste and made pancakes for his daughter, was done being gentle. He knew exactly where those 3 Vexari boys would be. He knew exactly what he was going to do. And somewhere deep in the station, in the commander's office, Thelxis had no idea that his comfortable world was about to come crashing down. No idea that he had exactly 10 minutes before a human father reached his door. Marcus found them in the commercial district, exactly where he expected. Rich kids always went to the expensive shops after school. The 3 Vexari teenagers were laughing and playing with their portable devices, not a care in the world. Crix, the ringleader, was showing something to his friends, probably bragging about what they did. Marcus walked straight toward them. People moved out of his way faster than usual. Some instinct told them this human was dangerous right now. "Crix," Marcus said. His voice was quiet but carried clearly. The 3 boys turned. Crix's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Oh, the little human's father! Come to thank us for teaching your daughter her place?" His friends laughed. They didn't notice that their laughter was the only sound in the area. Everyone else had gone quiet, watching. "You hurt my daughter," Marcus said. Still quiet, still controlled. "Prove it," Crix sneered. "There's no evidence, just her word against ours, and my uncle is Commander Thelxis. Who do you think the station will believe?" "I have the footage." That made Crix pause. That footage was corrupted. The main footage was. The maintenance backup wasn't. I've already sent it to the Human Colonial Authority, the Galactic News Network, and about 50 other places. But I wanted to give you a chance to come with me to your uncle and make this right. Crix's confidence returned. "You're bluffing. And even if you're not, so what? You can't touch me. If you hurt me, you'll be arrested and kicked off this station. Then what happens to your little girl?" Marcus nodded slowly. "You're right. I can't hurt you, but I don't need to." 4 Vexari security guards came running, weapons drawn. Someone must have called them when they saw Marcus approaching the boys. "Human! Step away from the children!" one guard shouted. Marcus held up his hands. "I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just need Crix to come with me to see his uncle. We need to discuss what happened to my daughter." "You have no authority to make demands. Leave now or be detained." "I'm not making demands. I'm making a request. But if you try to stop me, I'll defend myself." The lead guard laughed. "You're outnumbered, human. Stand down." What happened next took less than 10 seconds. The first guard rushed Marcus with his shock baton. Marcus sidestepped, grabbed the baton mid-swing, and used the guard's own momentum to flip him onto the ground. Not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to knock the wind out. The second guard fired an energy net. Marcus caught it before it fully expanded, twisted, and threw it back. It wrapped around the guard instead. The third and fourth guards hesitated. That hesitation was all Marcus needed. He moved between them too fast for their reactions and pressure-pointed them both. They dropped, conscious but unable to move for a few minutes. The entire fight had been clean. Professional. No one was seriously hurt. But everyone watching now understood something important. This human had been holding back. For years, he had been holding back. Marcus walked to Crix, who was now backing away, his confidence shattered. "We're going to see your uncle now. I'll scream. More guards will come." "Good. Let them come. I'm not hiding anymore." Marcus picked up Crix, threw him over his shoulder like a bag of supplies, and started walking. The teenager struggled and yelled, but Marcus held him easily. More security guards appeared, but they didn't engage. They had seen what happened to the first 4. They followed at a distance, calling for backup. As Marcus walked through the station, something unexpected happened. Other humans started appearing. There were maybe 30 humans total on Zenith Point, most working dangerous jobs like Marcus. They came out of cargo bays and maintenance tunnels. They didn't say anything. They just fell into step behind Marcus, forming a silent escort. Sarah Rodriguez, who worked reactor maintenance. James Okoye, who handled explosive decompression repairs. Kim Park, who managed the waste recycling systems that would kill other species. All of them had experienced the same quiet discrimination Marcus had. All of them had kept their heads down and accepted it. Now they walked together through the station, and for the first time, the other species felt real fear. Not fear of violence. Fear of what humans could do if they stopped accepting injustice. The group reached the command center. More guards blocked the entrance. "Let me through," Marcus said. "Or arrest me. Either way, this ends today." The guards looked at each other. At Marcus, at the 30 humans behind him, at Crix, still struggling on Marcus's shoulder. Someone made a decision. The doors opened. Commander Thelxis was in his office. A large room designed to impress visitors with his power. He stood behind his desk, mandibles clicking in anger as Marcus entered. "What is the meaning of this? Release my nephew immediately!" Marcus set Crix down but kept a hand on his shoulder. He pulled out a small holographic projector and played the footage. The office filled with the sounds of children screaming, Lily's voice begging them to stop, Pip crying, the three Vexari boys laughing. When it finished, the room was silent. "Your nephew used a gravity device as a weapon," Marcus said. "He broke my daughter's arm and ribs. He crushed another child's leg. And your security tried to cover it up." Thelxus's voice was cold. "You have no jurisdiction here, human. This is a Vexari station. You have assaulted my guards and kidnapped my nephew. You will be arrested. I've already sent this footage to 43 different news outlets and government agencies. The Human Colonial Authority is sending a representative. They'll be here in 6 hours. So here's what's going to happen, Commander." Marcus stepped forward. 30 humans stood behind him in the doorway. Thelxus was one of the most powerful beings on the station, but for the first time in his life, he felt small. "You're going to charge those 3 boys with assault. Real charges, with real consequences. You're going to reform your security department and install independent oversight. And you're going to publicly apologize to my daughter and to every being on this station who has suffered under your corrupt system." "And if I refuse?" Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Then the whole galaxy learns that the mighty Vexari Confederation protects children who torture other children. Your career ends, your family's honor dies, and every human in this sector stops doing the dangerous jobs that keep your stations running. How long do you think Zenith Point functions without us?" Thelxus looked at the footage still playing on repeat, at his nephew, who couldn't meet his eyes, at the humans who had finally stopped accepting their place. He had a choice to make, and he had about 10 seconds to make it. The silence in Commander Thelxus's office stretched like a wire pulled tight. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of stress in Vexari. He looked at the frozen image on the hologram, at his nephew's face twisted in cruel laughter, at the small human child protecting an even smaller Quellan. "You've outmaneuvered me," Thelxus finally said. "I underestimated you, human. My name is Marcus Chen, and yes, you did." Thelxus touched a control on his desk. "Security, stand down. Send in Administrator Velcor." A few minutes later, a thin Vexari in administrative robes entered, looking confused at the crowd of humans. Thelxus replayed the footage without comment. Velcor's compound eyes widened. "Commander, this is bad." "I know what it is. The human has already distributed this to multiple news agencies and the Human Colonial Authority. Damage control is no longer possible. We must shift to crisis management." Marcus listened as they talked about the situation like it was a business problem. No concern for Lily or Pip, just worry about how it looked. His anger burned hotter, but he kept his voice level. "I'm not interested in your political problems," Marcus said. "I want justice for my daughter and for Pip, and I want to make sure this never happens to anyone else's child." Thelxus turned to him. "What exactly do you want?" "I already told you. Criminal charges, security reform, public apology." "Public apology?" "Station-wide broadcast. You kneel before my daughter and apologize for what your nephew did and for your security's attempt to cover it up." Every Vexari in the room went rigid. Velcor made a choking sound. That's not possible. A Vexari commander does not kneel to another species. Ever. It is against everything we are. "Then get used to being the commander who protects child abusers," Marcus said, "because that's what the galaxy will remember." Over the next few hours, the situation exploded across the station. The footage went viral on the Galactic News Network. Ships arriving at Zenith Point heard about it before they even docked. The human community, so long quiet and separate, suddenly found allies. The Quellan families gathered together and sent a formal complaint to the station administration. They had been afraid to speak up before, but seeing Marcus stand up gave them courage. Other prey species did the same. Years of suppressed complaints started flooding in. The Korthan merchants, who had been paying protection money to Vexari guards, filed official reports. The small Dulaxian community, who had been forced to give up prime business locations to Vexari nobles, demanded hearings. Even some of the Vexari lower classes, tired of watching the nobles abuse their power, began speaking out. Marcus stayed by Lily's side in the medical bay. She was scared by everything happening. "I just wanted them to stop hurting Pip," she said quietly. "I know, Sweet Pea. You were very brave, and you were right to protect your friend. But this got bigger than just you and Pip. A lot of people have been hurt on this station, and nobody was willing to speak up until now. Because of you? Because of you? You showed everyone what real courage looks like." The human colonial authority representative arrived in 4 hours instead of 6. She was a stern woman named Commander Patricia Hayes, and she brought not just lawyers, but a destroyer-class warship that sat outside the station like a very large, very armed reminder. Hayes met with Marcus privately. "You've caused quite a situation, Mr. Chen. They hurt my daughter. I know. And between you and me, I'd have done the same thing. But now we need to manage this carefully. The Vexari Confederation is embarrassed. Embarrassed species make bad decisions. So what happens now? Now we negotiate. They give us everything we ask for, or this becomes an interstellar incident. Trust me, they don't want that." The negotiations took another day. Marcus stayed with Lily, who was recovering well. Humans healed fast. The Quellen child, Pip, was in worse shape, but the doctors said he would be okay. Pip's parents came to see Marcus. The father, a nervous, small Quellen named Tix, bowed deeply. "You saved our son. You stood up when we were too afraid. We owe you a life debt." "You don't owe me anything. I just did what any parent would do." "No," Tix said firmly. "Not any parent. Most would have been too afraid. You were not. In our culture, this means you are family now. Pip's family is your family." Marcus felt something warm in his chest. "I would be honored." Finally, it was time for the public apology. The station's main plaza was packed. Every screen on Zenith Point was tuned in. Ships in the docking area had their crews watching. This was unprecedented in Vexari history. Commander Thelxis stood on the raised platform. He was in full military dress, trying to hold on to some dignity. His nephew and the 2 other boys stood beside him, heads lowered. Lily sat in a chair on the platform, her arms still in a cast. Pip was next to her in a floating medical chair for his leg. Marcus stood behind them, hand on Lily's shoulder. Thelxis spoke clearly, his voice carrying to every corner of the station. "I speak today not as a commander, but as a Vexari who has failed in his duty. My nephew and these 2 others assaulted 2 innocent children. They used their privilege as a weapon. My security forces attempted to cover up this crime." He paused. The whole station seemed to hold its breath. Worse, this was not an isolated incident. For too long, this station has allowed the powerful to abuse the weak. This ends today. Thelxis stepped down from the raised area. He walked to where Lily sat, and then, slowly, the proud Vexari commander lowered himself to his knees before an 8-year-old human girl. The crowd gasped. Some Vexari looked away, unable to watch. Others watched with grim satisfaction. "Lily Chen," Thelxis said, "I apologize for what was done to you. I apologize for failing to protect you. I apologize for allowing a culture where this could happen. I swear on my family's honor that I will do better." He turned to Pip. "Pip of Clan Tix, I apologize to you as well. You are under the protection of this station, and we failed you. That failure is mine." Then he stood and addressed the crowd. "Effective immediately, new security protocols will be implemented. An independent oversight committee will be formed with representatives from all species on this station. The 3 perpetrators will face criminal charges in a civilian court, not a military one. And any future abuse will be met with swift justice, regardless of the perpetrator's status. It wasn't perfect. Marcus knew that. Changing culture took time, but it was a start. And as he looked around at the faces in the crowd, at the hope he saw in the prey species, at the determination he saw in the other humans, at the shame he saw in some Vexari faces, he knew something fundamental had changed. They had stood up, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. 3 weeks later, life on Zenith Point Station had settled into something new. Not perfect, but different. Better. Lily's arm was healing faster than the Vexari doctors expected, though that didn't surprise Marcus anymore. Deathworlder children bounced back from injuries that would hospitalize other species for months. She was back in school, but school had changed too. The Independent Oversight Committee had been formed quickly. It included a Quellan representative, a human, a Corthan, and even a reformed Vexari who had been pushing for change from within. Their first act was reviewing security protocols. Their second was investigating the school. Turned out Crix and his friends weren't the only bullies. There had been a pattern of abuse going back years. Children from lesser species being pushed around, their complaints ignored, their parents too afraid to speak up. All of that was coming into the light now. Marcus walked Lily to school every morning now. Not because he didn't trust the station, but because he wanted to. He wanted other parents to see that it was okay to be visible, to take up space, to protect your children openly. This morning, Pip's father, Tix, was waiting at the school entrance. Other Quellan families stood with him. They had formed a parents' group, something that would have been unthinkable a month ago. "Marcus," Tix waved. "Did you hear the news?" "What news?" "The Vexari Education Board is sending new teachers. One's trained in multi-species education, and they're implementing anti-bullying protocols across all their stations." Marcus smiled. "That's good. That's really good. It's because of you. Because you stood up. I stood up for my daughter. The rest of you did the hard part. You kept standing." Lily and Pip ran off together toward their classroom. They had other friends now, too. A small Dulaxian girl who liked the same games. A young Corthan boy who was teaching them both to draw. Even a few Vexari children whose parents were part of the reform movement. Marcus watched them go, feeling a weight he hadn't known he was carrying start to lift. Maybe Lily could grow up here. Maybe it could be home. At work, things had changed too. The human workers no longer kept to themselves. They had lunch with other species in the common areas. They shared stories and jokes. Some of the younger ones were even dating outside their species, something that had seemed impossible before. Marcus was handling a particularly nasty chemical shipment when Sarah Rodriguez found him. She was the reactor maintenance specialist who had been one of the first to join him that day. "Got a minute?" she asked. "For you? Always." They sat in the cargo bay break room, away from the toxic materials. Sarah looked nervous, which was unusual. She was normally fearless. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for what you did, but also, I wanted to ask if you were okay." Marcus was surprised. "I'm fine. Lily's healing. Things are getting better." "That's not what I meant. Marcus, we all saw you that day. We saw what you became, what you had to become. And I know what that costs." Marcus was quiet for a moment. He thought about that walk through the station, about disarming the guards, about the cold rage that had filled him, about the violence he had been capable of and had chosen not to use. "I scared myself," he admitted. "I didn't hurt anyone badly, but I could have. I wanted to, and that scared me more than anything. But you didn't. That's what matters." "Is it? I spent 3 years teaching Lily to be gentle, to be kind. And then I showed her something different. You showed her that gentleness doesn't mean weakness, that you can be strong and still choose not to hurt people. Marcus, You disarmed 4 guards and didn't seriously injure any of them. You carried that boy through the station and didn't harm him even though he hurt your daughter. That's not violence. That's control. Marcus looked at his hands. Strong hands, dangerous hands, but also hands that made pancakes and braided hair and held a little girl when she had nightmares. Sarah was better at this than me, he said quietly. My wife. She knew how to be strong and gentle at the same time. I'm still learning. You're doing fine, and I think Sarah would be proud of you. That evening, Marcus made dinner for Lily and himself. But they had guests. Pip's family came over, and the small apartment felt wonderfully crowded. Tix and his mate Lyra brought traditional Quellen grain cakes. Marcus made his famous pancakes, which turned out to work just as well for dinner. "These are amazing," Lyra said, her long ears perked up in pleasure. "You must teach me the recipe." "Trade secret," Marcus joked. "But for family, I suppose I can share." The word family made Tix smile. In Quellen culture, the life debt had made them officially kin. It was an honor Marcus was still getting used to, but one he treasured. After dinner, while the children played, the adults talked about the future. The human colonial authority was negotiating better terms for human workers across all Vexari stations. Fair pay, better housing, equal treatment under the law. It was a start. "Do you think it will last?" Lyra asked. "The changes?" "Some of it will fade," Marcus admitted. "People forget. They get comfortable. But I don't think things will ever go back to how they were. Too many people have seen what's possible now." Commander Thelxus had been reassigned, just as expected. The new commander was a female Vexari named Sarix, who had a reputation as a reformer. Her first act was meeting with representatives from every species on the station. Her second was making the Oversight Committee permanent with real authority. Marcus had met with her once. She was direct, no nonsense, and seemed genuinely interested in making things work. "The Confederation needs to change," she had told him. "What happened here was a symptom of a larger disease. We've built our society on the idea that some species matter more than others. That needs to end." "It won't be easy," Marcus had said. "No, but necessary things rarely are." As the weeks turned into months, Zenith Point became something of a model. Other stations started implementing similar reforms. The footage of Thelxus kneeling had spread across the galaxy, and while some Vexari were angry about it, others saw it as a turning point. The human community on the station grew. More families transferred in, hearing that this was a place where they could be themselves without constantly walking on eggshells. The dangerous jobs still needed doing, and humans still did them, but now they were respected for it, rather than just tolerated. One evening, Marcus sat in their apartment while Lily did homework. She was drawing something, her tongue sticking out in concentration like she always did when she was focused. "What are you working on, Sweet Pea?" "A picture for art class. We're supposed to draw our family." She turned the paper around. Marcus felt his throat tighten. In the center was him and Lily, holding hands. Around them were Pip and his family, Sarah Rodriguez and some of the other human workers, even the Corthan doctor who had helped them. In the background, she had drawn the station with all different kinds of aliens living and working together. "That's beautiful," Marcus said. "Is it okay that I put everyone in? The teacher said family was who lived with you, but I said family was who loved you. Was that right?" Marcus pulled her into a hug, careful of her arm, which was almost fully healed. That was exactly right. That night, after Lily was asleep, Marcus stood by the window looking out at the stars. He thought about Sarah, about how she would have handled all of this. She had always been better with people, better with words. But maybe, just maybe, he had done okay. He had protected their daughter. He had stood up for what was right. He had shown strength without cruelty, power without abuse, and in doing so, He had helped create a place where Lily could grow up not as a feared death worlder, but as just a kid with friends from different worlds. The station hummed around him, alive with thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems to solve, still prejudices to overcome, still work to do. But it was better than it had been. And tomorrow, it might be better still. Marcus thought about that moment in Thelxus's office when he had stood surrounded by his fellow humans and demanded justice. He had been so angry, so full of rage, but he had controlled it, channeled it, used it to protect rather than destroy. Maybe that was what it meant to be a death worlder. Not that you were violent, but that you had the capacity for violence and chose something better, that you could be dangerous and still be kind, that you could come from a harsh world and still build something gentle. He looked at the photo of Sarah on the shelf. "I think we did okay," he whispered to her. "Our girl is happy. She's safe. She's learning to stand up for herself and others. That's what you wanted, right?" The photo didn't answer, but Marcus felt a peace he hadn't felt in years. He had been so afraid of his own strength, of what it might make him. But strength wasn't the problem. It was what you did with it that mattered. Tomorrow he would take Lily to school. He would go to work. He would have lunch with friends from different species. He would make dinner and help with homework and tuck his daughter into bed. Normal things, good things. And if anyone threatened his child again, if anyone tried to hurt the weak or abuse the helpless, they would face the same thing Crix and his friends had faced. Not violence, not cruelty, but the unstoppable force of a parent who loved their child, a human who knew that true strength was protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The station's lights twinkled in the darkness, a small bubble of life and hope in the vast emptiness of space. And inside one small apartment, Marcus Chen smiled and went to bed, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring.